In this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on hypnosis and revealing how it's used in places you'd never expect by massage therapists, doctors, salespeople, first responders, and even professional athletes. Have you ever been massage drunk? You'll find out exactly what that means and why it's a real phenomenon. Plus, we're kicking off the No Interruption Challenge. We'll actually stay on track this time.
Yes, we will.
And don't forget our new Dracula contest. You can craft the best Dracularization. You can send it to us. So stick around as we explore how hypnosis is quietly changing and shaping the world around you, even if you've never been formally hypnotized. Welcome to episode 276 of the Brain Software Podcast, emanating from the World Hypnotic Epicenter. Try to say that 5 times quick. From Toronto, Canada, I'm Chris Thompson, and here is my partner in trance, Mike Mandel, with our disclaimer.
Disclaimer. This will be the first Brain Software podcast where we test our new approach to getting our stuff out there, so be prepared. We hope you like it, because it's going to be different.
Lucci.
No interruptions.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That lasted well.
Well, it's nice to have you both here. Very nice, in fact. But I get a bit concerned about the state of the world, especially London. You really think you're going to be able to not carry on with all the interruptions, you stupid prats, as you always do? Can you really stop doing it? Can you stop it at all?
So without further ado, let's welcome to the very nexus of conversational restraint and introjection control, a man who is way too happy these days because he's fit again. A man who's really enjoying life as he approaches his anniversary of leaving the stage
7 years
forever. And a man who feels like he's Keith Richards right now for secret reasons.
Yes,
Mike Mandel.
Chris, I did not endanger my neck. I'm having a freaking great day. I always have a great day these days.
Yeah. Oh my
man.
goodness. So
I feel like I'm about 35. I honestly do.
I do too. I
So
wake up
good.
feeling like a kid. I always feel like, I love your line, hi, I'm 5 years old. Except maybe 20 or 25 or something. I just feel freaking young and awesome.
Right to feel young and awesome.
I had a
to
great
eat right, to
I
work
had
out
an
hard.
awesome volleyball game this Tuesday, and everyone was like, Chris, you're playing really well. My hits were on point. I don't know why I'm pretending to hit with my right hand
Look
as
good.
a
Like
lefty.
you're doing an axe hand or something.
But we're going to go on to the 3 think tank words, then we're going to go on to the main content. We're going to talk all about hypnosis in everyday life. It was inspired by a YouTube comment on one of our videos.
Yeah.
In fact, that's interesting. And we've been chided and finally taken it seriously that here's the thing. We've been interrupting each other a lot because we get very high energy. But I've been listening to podcasts where that happens, and I hate it. It annoys the heck out of me.
Normally, they interrupt better than we do.
Normally interruptions are not an issue for the interrupters. Like, we hear each other perfectly, but you guys get it through a mixer. And anyway, we realize the
We have
experience.
listened.
That's it. The experience sucks for the listener, even though it's not bad for us. So we're actually listening. And we're going to improve.
We're going to attempt to not interrupt the rest of this podcast. And we'll say starting right now, but let me set us off by saying these are indeed days of
Victory. All right. So let's move on with quick calls to action for you here. So we revamped the entire Journey to the Castle opt-in page and email experience. Right. So go to mikemandelhypnosis.com/castle. It's the same URL as before, but you're still going to get Journey to the Castle. It's right there on the thank you page to listen to, and you'll get emails following up with some more details that are awesome that I think you're really going to like, including some information about our $1 guest pass.
Brilliant.
And our Brain Software Syndicate, which just happens to come with like almost $700 of bonus material. So anyway, check that out. Finally, not finally, but second and third. No, that is it. Really, just one more.
Right.
I had 3 things on my list, but it's really only 2. The Architecture of Hypnosis is coming up in May, and it's pretty much sold out. I haven't actually checked. It was 5 spots remaining last time I looked. It's fewer than that now because people keep signing up. We always get some cancellations towards the end because people's schedules change, but it's going to fill up. The good news is if you can't make the May class 2025, we are just on the cusp, Mike, of signing the contract for the dates, so I can give them to you now.
Yes.
It will still be the same week in November that it was last year, which means This year, it'll be Monday, November 10th through Friday, November 14th. And that one will be open for registration soon. So if you want to hang out with us for 5 days and learn awesome hypnosis skills. All right, think tank words and Dracula contest. Then we're going to talk about massage drunk and everyday hypnosis. All right.
It sounds so freaking weird.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about massage.
Massage and getting, well, yeah, it's actually a nice metaphor. I really like it. Okay. Think tank words.
Think tank words as chosen directly from Savo Bukacek's Think Tank. No choosing. This is what it gave us. First one is pilferage.
Pilferage.
The second is maltreatment. And the third one is seclusion.
Interesting. Okay, what do you get from pilferage?
Pilferage.
We're going to relate. Some interruption. We're going to relate this back to the content somehow, though.
Okay. Yeah. So to pilfer is to take something. Pilferage is sounding like a nominalization.
Yes.
He was overcome by pilferage.
Right. The act of the noun version of pilfer. Okay.
It's really hard not to interrupt. It's really fucking hard.
It is. It is hard. We're gonna keep practicing.
Really
well, the only solution is we'd have to start wearing those big ass headphones, which I really don't want to do. All right, pilfer.
To take something that isn't yours, like to pilfer it is to. So pilferage is the act of seizing, picking through people's things and taking what you like. Somebody pilfering grapes in a grocery store.
Pilfering the best of hypnotic language and hypnotic interactions.
Hurrah!
Into your own life. Because the beauty is you can pilfer without harming the person you're learning from. They still have the knowledge. You can't pilfer knowledge.
Correct. They still have it. They still have it.
I just realized with the interruption thing, here's the magic. It'll still happen. But when you notice that you're being interrupted, you just stop talking immediately.
That's going to work in my favor because I'll just do endlessly longer sentences so that you won't be able. Anyway.
But that solves the issue of it. That solves the issue of the contamination of...
Listen, it was never a freaking issue in this guy's mind.
For other people.
Anyway, but we hear you. So pilferage, yeah. Now, what about maltreatment? Maltreatment is mistreatment.
Right. Like when we interrupt each other and we mistreat our audience.
Oh, man, you're really grinding that one down.
Okay.
But you're right. Damn it, he's right, damn him.
Treat yourself well.
Treat yourself.
How are you treating yourself poorly using crappy, disempowering language, which is hypnotic? We'll get to that maybe in the content.
That's not bad at all. Mm-hmm. And then seclusion. When I think of seclusion, I think of preparing for architecture of hypnosis and how I sequester myself like a juror and just lock down on all the information to make sure I'm teaching it at the peak of my powers, which is based on recent discoveries and events. I'm certainly at the peak of my powers.
I think if you seclude yourself to get something done, that can be a really powerful mind hack. All right, let's move on to. Oh, you wanted to talk about the Dracula contest. Now,
I do.
If people are confused, I'll let you explain the whole thing.
Okay.
Everything about what the heck Dracularization means, because some people are new to the podcast, and what we might consider doing as a contest, as long as you don't make me your administrator.
All right. So I won't make you the administrator. The Dracula contest, and I must say up front that your nephew Sam is not allowed to join.
Okay, because he'll
win.
Cheat.
He'll freaking win. And neither is our friend Nigel in the UK, one of our students, because he's got ChatGPT playing the game with him now, which is hilarious.
You just gave everyone the secret keys to cheat.
No, because I'll check it all against the book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. So if it's not authentic,
you're right.
So can you imagine having that much of an interest in a stupid game? So the Dracula contest, what we're going to give you a random word any second. And that one you have to turn to Dracula in the most, it doesn't have to be the shortest route, but that helps, in the most elegant form. So I'll give you an example. Pennsylvania to Transylvania to Dracula. I mean, that's a beautiful one.
So it's just one step of transition to another step of transition to dealing cards. All right.
Dealing cards. Shut up. Okay. So we need a word. So I'm just going to pick one off here.
Okay.
Okay. The word is discomfort.
Oh, I love it.
So you're going to turn discomfort to Dracula. And if you want extra points, make it really, really interesting sounding.
Okay. And here's where, not emailing it to us, posting it as a comment under the YouTube video, because this podcast gets published as a YouTube video. So post your turning of discomfort into Dracula through YouTube comments. Okay.
Trevor Tilling to Dracula. That's a good one.
There you go. All right.
So
let's get on with
talk about
content.
the message drunk email. Oh, what are they going to win with the contest?
An MMH t-shirt.
Awesome.
We'll send the winner one of these shirts here because we have an automatic like fulfillment thing that can take care of that. And I don't have to be an admin boy.
All right.
All right, that's lovely.
I think the brain drops have kicked in.
How about I read this?
You read it, buddy.
I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to explain. Yeah, we're still interrupting each other way too much. It's so funny.
Okay, well, start ring the bell. Then we can't interrupt.
Oh, yeah. Where is it?
Sit next to you.
Oh, yes.
This is now the interruption bell. And if we ring it now, it means the other guy's interrupted.
Good point. If you interrupt me, I ring the bell. This is going to be fun. Okay, this is going to be way too much fun. Here's what happens when we plan these podcast episodes. Usually Mike and I just meet over Zoom. Timothy joins us most of the time. And we hash out like what's going on that's interesting. And we started thinking about, well, let's look at the comments that are coming in under our YouTube channel because that's always a great thing to involve the community. And I saw this. We don't actually know the person's name because it was like the account name was a company or not like, Sylvia or Peter. So I don't know who wrote this, but this was a great comment and it actually just led to this idea. So he or she wrote, I am new here. I am a massage therapist and I want to incorporate hypnosis into my practice for chronic pain patients and athletes. I never paid attention to hypnosis before, but now I see it everywhere. I even heard it on a radio ad. I've had lots of patients who tell me that my voice is very hypnotizing. They always feel relaxed and calm after sessions. I have tons of people look like they're in trance, and I have coined it as massage drunk. I tell people it's okay to be massage drunk, but we need to reconnect your body and let your brain take over now. I've had sessions where I take people through guided breath work, meditations, and tell them you can allow yourself to be pain-free and relaxed without any discomfort. I don't know why it works, but I'm going to join your online course and learn about hypnosis now. Mahalo. So I guess it comes from Hawaii.
Thank you, sir or madam. Yes, it does.
What a freaking great comment. I loved it. And I read it to you on our meeting, and we just thought, oh, crap, we got to do a whole podcast talking about this.
Talk about this. I just interrupted myself. Okay, I did it so hard that actually hurt the bell. Scary. I think I was going to say my hand. Here, this is what's interesting to me about this. With a good massage that goes really deep into the tissue, you do get an endorphin release. That's the one. Yeah,
you drool.
It's an endorphin release. You get that after yoga too, which is kind of cool. The yoga high is a real thing. I used to run 6 miles. I used to get the runner's high. Mm-hmm. But this sounds interesting because this person, male or female, is noticing the response. They're calibrating the difference in their patient.
Yes.
It's almost like they've had a few drinks, right?
I have had professional massage maybe like 2 times in my life. And it is exactly that. You just... Yeah. Like your brain is still there, but your body is like not connected to it. And you're able to think, but you just don't feel like you can move your body. So it's not quite the same as having a lot of alcohol in you, but it certainly looks that way.
Now, I guess the combination of the best would be both together. I'm going to a spa pretty soon. You get the
whiskey
and
massage.
Now,
it's very hard. Okay.
You interrupted yourself?
Yeah, I interrupted you. So
okay. So this is really interesting because the person is asking about incorporating hypnosis into the practice, and obviously you're already doing it. Like, it shows quite a good understanding. Everybody's relaxed and calm. You can supplement what you're doing by feeding in the pre-frames. You can say, after this massage, I'm using some techniques that will cause you to really, really relax. And you're using an embedded command here as well. It's sneaky stuff.
Yeah. And like in this example, obviously massage, you want people relaxed where you don't need relaxation with hypnosis, as you've mentioned. I mean,
correct.
Whether it be political speeches that are causing people to have riveted attention. There's no necessary relaxation happening there. Or horror movies where people are in the watching trance and their cheeks are clenched, for lack of a better term, and they're watching the movie and they're in trance. And the same thing, I remember years ago, after I'd done quite a lot of hypnosis training with you, I was taking, I think I mentioned this before, but I was taking spinning classes at the time. I'd go and do like a lunchtime spin class. And the instructor, even if they were awesome, usually I would go, oh man, if they only knew a little bit of hypnotic language. Because let's say we were doing a climb, a so-called climb, you dial up the resistance on the bike and you're pedaling at a certain cadence and they're coaching you on what your heart rate should be as a percentage of your max. And they're saying, only a couple more minutes, don't quit on me now, or something like, don't notice the fatigue, ignore the burning in your legs, or whatever words they're using. And I'm thinking, oh, if only you knew hypnotic language, and you'd be saying, and as we approach these last 2 minutes of the climb with vigor, with energy, you'll notice how easy it is for you to maintain that momentum all the way. That's right. They'd be coaching you through with hypnotic language.
Far more effective. And when you bring in the visual element, I've seen some of these videos that go with it where there's this amazingly hot fitness instructor riding her bike like 2 feet in front of you. And that, honestly, that would hold my attention. That would absolutely hold my attention.
So when we talked about this, we thought, okay, Mike's going to make a list of all these different areas where hypnosis gets used, but it isn't formally used. It's not hypnotherapy. Nobody would, from a normal situation, would even call it hypnosis, even though we would, and most hypnosis students would. So you've got a whole ton of notes. I'm going to... no, you're doing it. You're just doing it quietly. All right.
You have to ring the bell quietly.
So
you have to ring the bell. The attack has to be proportionate to the interruption.
To the volume.
At the max is like really just hammering off on the thing.
That's good. Okay, I like that. All right, so over to you.
Okay, right away, when I was doing my first trainings, before I worked with Derek Balmer, I used to do 1-day and 2-day trainings.
Mm-hmm.
And a really cool massage therapist showed up. I believe his name was David Slabotsky. Really nice guy. Excellent massage therapist or physical therapist of some kind. But he knew the Elman induction and he learned the braid induction for me and preferred it weirdly. But he was really adroit at using simple redirection of attention, if I can recall, when he was working with the subject. So using just what we said from the Mahalo comment, building in presuppositions for relaxation, feeling great, and slowing down the voice. And that's really cool because when you slow your voice down, you'll create deeper kinesthetic states, feeling states. Nobody wants to rush into feeling states. They take time. And as you take it slower, you're getting hypnotic just by talking to the person slowly.
Which obviously lends itself to almost any situation where you want to slow down once you have their focused attention. So if it's a massage situation or a physical therapy manipulation of a joint or something like that, obviously kinesthetically they're paying attention and you can slow down your voice. But even if you're getting them to visualize something or getting them to think about a scenario in an everyday conversation, like I think you're going to get onto this, but if you're a lawyer or if you're a teacher teaching in a classroom, like think of Lisa, and you're riveting the students with this interesting science demonstration and you can slow down and make your point.
Yeah, that's really, definitely can. And in fact, the voice, because I'm so auditory, I follow the voice very, very quickly. And there's a woman in our group. She's coming back to do the master class. Lovely person. Dr. Suzanne, that's all I'll say.
Yes.
And she's coming in to do our master training. Her frickin' voice, I've told her this. She gives me that ASMR effect. Her voice makes me feel tired and relaxed and really comfortable. I think she's going to be dangerous to have in the class.
Yeah, the trancy, just very,
beautiful voice. So let's look at dentistry for a second. You know, Dr. John Hartland, he used direct suggestion to reduce pain and bleeding in dentistry. And we've known for maybe 100 years that you can remove a secondary molar without pain, and you can also cause the bleeding to stop when it reaches the top of the tooth socket. So you're causing platelet aggregation purely through suggestion.
Okay, so how would he do this in a dental situation without it being, or was there any formal hypnosis?
If there is, you're off to the races anyway. I mean, in the early days, they used to get people, when it was the pulley drills, that when I was a kid, that would heat up so much. They would put, one dentist would put a little piece of cotton batten, cotton wool as we call it in England, fasten it to the pulley and it would go around. And I watched this video. So a little kid has to have his first filling and he's watching, he's saying, so a little bunny rabbit.
Watch the cotton.
Watch the bunny rabbit running round and round. Would you like me to make a little hole in your tooth to give him a place to hide? And he said, yeah. And okay, we'll just do it. Just keep. The kid is absolutely entranced. Now, there's no formal induction, but the fixation of attention.
So let's break that down. Obviously.
But let's just add the second part. You stopped.
Yes.
No bell here. No bell prize. Brilliant. Now listen, the thing that I find interesting about it is prestige. It was Dabney Ewan, Dr. Dabney Ewan, who said, in an emergency, and this is later on in the notes too, in an emergency, rapport is not necessary. All you need is credentials. So that's a
good point.
That's why someone says, I'm a doctor, whatever.
Right.
Or they have the stethoscope. Now, when you're in a dentist's office, he's already got the frickin' prestige working, hasn't he? So when he says to you, and the bleeding is going to stop very, very quickly, this will be so easy on it. This is a prestige suggestion. That's pure hypnosis coming in anyway.
Your comment about watch the bunny, okay? So you're trying to drink your coffee. In case you're wondering, the studio has carpeted floors, and Mike just about expunged.
I did almost expunge, yes.
That was funny. Yeah, but getting the kid to focus on this cotton going around this old school pulley belt, watch the bunny go round and around. And as soon as you get the kid focused on that, transitioning to like, I'm going to drill a hole in your freaking teeth, but I'm getting you to imagine I'm going to give the bunny a little home.
A little place to hide.
Like Happy Gilmore, send it to its home.
Buddy,
tap it in.
This is hitting some hilarious buttons.
Okay, what's
the
going
way
on?
You said it. And you're talking something, you say, and the bunny. And I said, why did he say it like that? That's when I inhaled the coffee.
But this is why I'm bringing it up. Okay, so back in, I think you remember this, 2008, I released Talking to Toddlers, an audio course. I really think maybe we should pull this back. I don't sell it anymore, but I feel like it could be a good freebie for our audience if anyone has parents. If anyone has
Everybody had parents at one time.
I came up with this because it was all about hypnotic language patterns that parents could use with toddlers to deal with situations.
Yes,
and I'll give you
well done.
I'll give you a simple example where normally where is the attention? Where is the attention now? The trance, because everyday trances, think about that book that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. Freaking name of it again. What's it called? Trances People Live.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, it's Trances People Live.
Trances People Live. And the idea being that we're always in some kind of trance and experiencing hypnotic phenomena in that trance. So what is a kid in a dentist chair perhaps going to experience? And we've got to move on, I know, because we have so many things to talk about.
200
but
more points.
What is a kid going to experience as a trance? The fear, the imagined soon to be pain, all of this. And you get the attention redirected now to this cottontail, little fluffy cottontail moving around and then drawing that inwards and creating, it's just me making a home for the bunny. Okay. So in Talking to Toddlers, one of the simple things that was a real example in my own life is, let's say I'd be driving around in my car. I'm the driver and my kid's in a car seat, 2 years old, 3 years old, something like that, and drops the stuffed animal, call her Fluffy, let's say. And once, Daddy, I dropped Fluffy. And you can't just say, I know.
He said, let me put a hole in your tooth and you can put Fluffy there.
Well, you can't logic with a 2-year-old who's now crying that they've lost their little comfort animal. And you're in a highway driving situation. Sure, let me just pull over on the side of the road. And I can't pull over right now, sweetheart, because we'd cause a fatal accident. It would be horrible. You can't use logic. So I came up with these simple distraction techniques. I'd be like, what color is Fluffy? Oh, it's pink. Who gave you Fluffy? Oh, it was my Uncle Ryan. Was that a birthday present? Yeah, that was birthday. When's the next birthday party? Don't you have a birthday party coming up next week you make it up. You just slowly move from one step to the next.
Well, let's just comment. That's brilliant, because what you're doing, if you really think about it, is you're chunking down. You're starting with a big chunk, and then you're going for greater and greater specificity. And the greater specificity is narrowing the focus.
Yeah.
And going back to the bunny for a second, and then we'll move on. When you think about it, the cotton on the pulley, and you're way too young to have ever had those torturous freaking drills with a ball burnisher that heats up to 5,000 degrees Kelvin. So they're doing this thing. You think about it, if the kid's tracking it with their eyes, you're probably getting transhemispheric function as well. You're
for sure.
Both hemispheres firing. So you have some great built-in stuff.
So we managed to get through one whole point here of your list of about 30. So we'll see how this goes.
I Googled Dr. Mike Gow of Berkeley Clinic, and he uses glove anesthesia as a dentist for fillings and extractions without pain. So he's using classic glove anesthesia, transferring it, and it's in his practice regularly.
So that's
hats off to you, Dr. Mike Gow.
That would be formal use of hypnosis. So that's a quick one. We won't dive into it. Let's talk about some of your points here on police and emergency services.
Oh, yeah. I taught EMS in Saskatchewan. I've taught many, many police services, Canada, US. And one of the things we tell them is when the person is in shock, they're vulnerable to suggestion. If you've had a serious car accident or whatever. In fact, we can get pretty good at detecting when we're in shock. We have a massive PGO spike, pons geniculate body occiput, flashing in our brain, and it throws us offline. And the critical faculty is now sort of displaced for seconds to minutes in some cases. I was going to McMaster University or somewhere in Hamilton going up Hamilton Mountain to do an event. You're looking over my shoulder constantly.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if you'd notice.
What are you looking at?
Nothing. I was just pretending. I'm pretending there's something on your shoulder.
So anyway, a truck in front of me went up the ramp at night so freaking fast, he lost control and rolled the truck. And I was the only person who saw it. And I was phoning. And as I'm calling 911, I can feel I'm in shock. I'm trying to find my words. Now, listen, if police know this, EMS know this, they can give positive suggestions during that window when the person is afraid. And that's classically hypnotic.
And you have an example of that you've mentioned it before, but I know so many people will be first-time listeners. So tell that quick story about the thumb in the artery.
Oh, yeah. Female constable, Ontario Provincial Police. I had trained her at another thing. She stood up in class and said that she was first officer on the scene. Black ice, Canada, car had gone off the road, smashed into an embankment. Driver had a seatbelt on. He's got a broken femur. He's leaking blood from his femoral artery. Next to him is his best friend who has died. He's actually dead. No seatbelt, all crashed into the windshield. Looks over. She comes over. The guy sees his buddy's dead. Looks down, sees the blood leaking from his leg. She puts her thumb in the femoral artery. And he says, I'm going to lose my leg. I'm going to lose my leg. I'm going to lose my leg. And she said, remain calm. And he went,
okay.
Okay. She went, it was impossible how well it worked. She had an entry point because of the shock, told him what to do instead of what not to do.
I had a situation, not nearly that bad, but I was ice skating with my kids many, many years ago, and a woman fell down and whacked her head. Oh. Probably not bad enough to need any serious attention, but you never know.
Yeah.
But she was in a bit of a panic, and I went over and checked on her, and I just started layering on hypnotic commands around how it would, she would probably notice that she starts to feel better now that it's overcome, whatever. I can't remember exactly what I said.
But at the time you got in the group with it.
I just layered on a bunch of stuff. I talked to her in hypnotic language for about 30 to 40 seconds and just congruently delivered embedded commands that she would feel better. And that if she needed to get attention, she could do so.
Nice.
Now that she could walk off the ice and feel better again. Something like that.
That's fantastic. Yep. And
it's really hard to make it up when you're not in the situation.
I know. In the situation, you access the resource. Of course, I have it all the time because I'm a freaking 5,000-year-old wizard.
Yeah.
He feels like he's 35 at the moment. Now, listen, while we're on this, let's look at professional speakers. This is really intriguing. Professional speakers can use spatial anchoring. I want to tell you an anchor I did when I used to sell product after my speaking engagement. So I would sell my brain software notebook, all Xerox bound, for $20 cash.
Yeah.
And at first, I was selling a few. It was back of the room things. Then when I started doing this, I don't know if we've ever discussed this. I heard this from someone else.
This is new to me so far.
You'll love it. So when I'm doing a keynote or maybe a 1 hour, 2 hour training, instead of having the stuff at the back and hoping people saw it, I set up an anchor. So every time I'm telling one of my hilariously effective lines and people are laughing, I would slip my hands into my pockets with my thumb sticking out. I'm wearing a sports jacket, right? And just like smiling. Keep anchoring that feeling good state. And at the end of it, see, I've got some brain software books left. I have a few left. They're $20 each. And I put my hands in my pockets. And everybody feels that feel-good state fire. I'm talking about clear out. I'd make more money. Thousands. They throw thousands of dollars cash at me because I'm firing the anchor of them feeling good.
You'd make, and by the way, that's a very good notebook. Now you get all that stuff for free because we've been doing it on our podcast forever. But you would end up probably making more money selling those than the fee for being a keynote speaker is my guess back in that
has
day.
happened, yes. Yeah. Very much so.
Especially,
go ahead.
Especially back in the day when you were obviously back in the 90s, you were newer at doing these keynotes compared to right before you retired from that.
4 years ago,
you were very senior keynote speaker.
Shut up with the senior. I'm senior. 35 and you're saying senior.
Leadership, like the guru of speaking.
I will accept that. Now, also, any speaker, when you're telling good metaphors, you're engaging a trance right away. People remember the stories. When I did the one for HypnoThoughts Live, which is old news now, but that keynote, it was full of stories. People remember the stories because you're taking them somewhere else, and that's entirely hypnotic.
Let's make sure that we put in the show notes a link to that video on YouTube, that HT Live 2019 keynote that you did. Right. That was that many years ago. But that is a really good hypnotic example of telling stories.
I go.
You could hear a pin drop in that room.
Yeah. It was only 10 people there. That's why.
Well, there were
about 600 or something.
No, that was a peak year. That was prior to COVID. So that was probably about 800 people in the room. And keep in mind, you had a bunch of people after approaching you saying, can we do a Zoom together with this community that I run? We want to be able to deconstruct what you did. They all wanted to know what you did. They wanted your
The one of the
wizard.
secret. The best was James Hazelrig, just super nice guy. He's at the back of the room with a couple of the guys. One of them was a linguist or whatever. And he said they're listening to the keynote. And 8 minutes in, he said, the guy turns to James. He said, holy crap, do you see what he's doing?
Yeah.
And they knew there was a structure to it. Hey, that's nice. Do anything long enough, you get pretty good at it. I just want to offer something that is not in this at all. But
Okay.
I think this could be very useful. To make the interruption thing even stronger, starting next podcast.
Taser.
No, no, 870 in the guts. Die, you mofo. No, what I'm thinking is we each have like 3 coins in front of us. That's the maximum number that you're allowed to interrupt the guy.
Oh.
When you interrupt, he catches you, dings the bell, and takes one of your coins. If you get down to no coins, you have to stand up, and the other guy gets to punch you in the stomach.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Not up into the solar plexus, just straight into the stomach. I could take that.
While you're eating large chunks of wasabi.
Yeah, with your sinuses full of dry ice. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Let's look at salespeople here. This is such an obvious one. I've told you about the salespeople come to my door and they set up a yes set right away. Oh, beautiful day, isn't it? You know.
Yes.
Yes. You know. Oh, do you live here? Yes. You know. And you know, have you whatever? So you get you say yes or agree 3 times. But I would always see what they're doing and undo it. So this is a beautiful day, isn't it? No, it isn't for me. I prefer rain. I'm a pluviophile. Go to a lecture, throw them off their pattern. They say, do you live here? I'd say, no, I've broken into the house. I just always do it in pajamas and a house coat. You know, like, just always the hilarious lines, which are freaking brilliant. They're all great lines. But when you get someone doing a yes set at the door, getting you agree, and then they go into the compliance set, let me just show you this interesting article, you know, for your nice neighborhood, whatever. And you just, before long, you're reading it. And then you've got your credit card out.
Especially when they get you to hold it, right? They want to show you something and they open it, they turn it towards you and they put it in your hands. Yeah. I'll refuse to hold on to it. Also, I think we talked about this. Oh man, this must have been 10 years ago on our podcast. I remember a guy came to my front door back when I was still living in Toronto. That's how I know it was at least 10 years ago.
Okay.
And he was working for some company to probably sell me a new hot water heater. But he didn't want to disclose this, obviously, yet. No. So he positioned it as, he was probably taught to position this way, that he just needed to see my hot water heater to find out if we qualified for the replacement under a government program or whatever, in which point he would have made a sales pitch.
Right.
He just delivered the double bind. He said, I'm here for blah, blah purpose, whatever it was. The only thing I need to know is, do you want my shoes on or off? And I just said, I don't want you coming in my house at all. I just immediately saw the double bind.
Double bind.
Yeah.
That's freaking brilliant. I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah.
That's when I started to really respect you. I can tell you when it really kicked in. It was when we had that power cut and you rigged up cables from your garage and everything and you're running power like all from the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, okay, this guy knows his stuff. Stuff I don't have. Now, let's talk about this for a second. Kevin Hogan, expert in influence and hypnosis. He trains salespeople to use embedded commands.
Yes.
All the time. So, you know, as you think about this investment, as you begin to realize how great it'll be for your future, I mean, just embedding the command right there.
Yes, simple Ericksonian language. As you X, then you can Y. Or as you X,
then Y.
I wonder what will happen as you X, whatever the case may be. As you consider how this investment can transform your future, I wonder what plans you'll want to execute on first. I wonder what dreams will, whatever the case may be. It's really hard to do this on the fly when it's not a real example.
I want to dream it.
Totally have to be in the zone to do it, I find.
Now, you know, future pacing, salespeople, terrific one. So imagine 6 months from now, Chris, using your name, looking back and knowing this was the best choice. I mean, that's, and even fear of missing out with that.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Imagine 6 months from now, you can just as easily say, what will happen 6 months from now when you look back today and realize all the changes that you've already made, and then you ask your question, right?
Right.
Well, it's easy.
Easy is right. And I just want to acknowledge Steve McGarvey, great NLP trainer, great hypnotist. I saw him do some brilliant spatial anchoring to eliminate resistance. He was doing a presentation when we were both used to go to the National Guild meetings at James Bond United Church. All right, you got a cough. Hang on. We'll edit that out. Now, one woman was just being really cantankerous as he was making his presentation, just throwing up rejection and resistance all the time. Oh, you sound like my husband with his word salad. Oh, you. And he never, ever went against it. He said, I hear you. Let's just take that and put that aside here until and then he'd go on to, and she'd make another objection, and he just, yeah, you're completely right. We'll get to that a bit later. Let's put it over. And he spatially anchored her like 3 times. And then she just stopped and started listening because now it's over there. There's nothing to talk about. It's really crazy.
That reminds me of a really good point. We talk about this when we're teaching the agree and repeat strategy.
Yep.
Which is, it's in the Brain Software Syndicate. It's part of the Brain Software video series, which you get, which is included. I'll just drop the link for you right now. Brain Software Syndicate is at MikeMandelHypnosis.com/BSS. BS with an extra S. Anyway, check it out. So the agree and repeat strategy, I love that what you taught is, well, if you want to say no to somebody without feeling guilty, you just have to state your intention, and then basically keep repeating yourself. There's a formula behind it that we've done this in a video, I'm sure already, so I won't repeat the formula. But the formula is very simple. And Mike would say, how many times do you have to do it? One more time than they ask you for whatever it is they're asking you for.
Yeah, how many times you have to say it? Just one more time than them.
One more time than them. That's it. It's a back and forth until you say it one more time and they stop. There you go.
Okay, we're going to bring in the gut punch because I think it's good for both of us. You know, I'm building my abs and you've got freaking washboard abs already. So I think that taking the shot in the guts every now and then would probably be a good thing for me.
Here, let's practice now.
Now let's go on here. How about sports? Coaching and sports trainers. It's fantastic how hypnotic principles, NLP principles can be used as well. Many years ago, I knew a man who he wanted to manage me. His name was Vladimir Burstein, but we called him Mirik. It was from Vladimir. Mirik is sort of like a diminutive form of it. And he was the coach of the Canadian pentathlon team at the Munich Olympics in 1972 when there was the terrorist event through Black September, and he was Jewish, and it was very scary. But he was the riding, swimming, fencing, shooting, playing backgammon. I can't remember where the 5 are. It's not that.
Gut punching.
Yeah, gut punching. But I was at his place and he showed me these Belgian pistol grip swords he had because he taught fencing. And I'm coming at him like a freaking pirate, like as I got a cutlass, just hacking, trying to get to him. And he's just effortless, easy, very light. And he's like,
artistic.
Got no gear on, no face guards. And he goes right into my sternum with the and it clicks. I was like, ah! And he did it like 3 times. And I'm getting madder and madder and trying to hack at him with this thing. And he's very light, very light. Now here it comes again. Ow! And so I said, Mirik, if you do that one more time, so I'm going to take it off you and shove it. So I was going to get inside at that point. Yeah. I could. But anyway, he told me that back then it was East and West Germany.
Right.
And he said the East German athletes were breaking these records for powerlifting. And he said it was well established they were using hypnosis.
Interesting.
But the problem was they were lifting beyond their capability and we're getting injury just to get the medal. So you can use it in that.
Makes me think about Saturday Night Live.
Which one?
Where they had this skit on Saturday Night Live many years ago. Oh, Google this or YouTube search it, folks. It's so funny. It was called the All Steroid Olympics. And the big Russian power lifter comes up and he goes to do his deadlift or whatever. And his arm comes off and there's blood. It's so funny. Oh, man.
Amazing. Now, yeah, speaking of athletics, sports psychology, you can put someone in a trance, set up an anchor, like the fist, the yes, or something. You can use that just before you do what you're going to do. You know, I worked with a swimmer who worked with Calgary Police and Fire and Police games and came back with multiple medals.
Right, and he was doing a premature flip turn on his final lap and not getting a good push off the wall, right? If I remember correctly, is that what we're calling it these days? A push off the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. So he would turn too soon. He would on his flip turn for
finish
freestyle.
Dead last.
Yeah, he would be in the lead, and then he would flip turn, crappy push off the wall. Everyone else gets a proper push, so they zip ahead of him.
200 meters. So 200 meters. So
4 laps.
4 laps.
Yeah,
and he'd be ahead of the first. I bet it was the third and final turn would screw him up.
And all you did is have him, if I remember correctly,
in a trance,
go into trance, and then dissociated, imagining him doing this race, and on that final flip turn or on each flip turn, seeing a green light flash at the perfect moment to turn, he would see himself finishing the race first, gold medal, and then reassociate,
reintegrate.
Take everything we've learned, come back to now, and you're off to the races. Literally.
And you're off to the races. Yeah, and you know, I worked with Yusuf, our friend Amir, who, God bless him, he passed away a few years ago, the Cairo Kodiak super fighter, judoka, in our British Jiu-Jitsu class. And Yusuf, what are you going? You're laughing. You're looking at me.
Because Amir, when we would say, you know, and you finish the move, right? And then Amir used to always say, and you shoot him in the penis.
That's right. That's the only gunshot in our system is a bullet to the penis, which is hilarious because why wouldn't you shoot him in the testicles? You got to, if you have a chance, right? But instead, intentionally fingering through the trousers, funnier word than pants.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Anyway, his son, Yusuf, one of the best judokas I've ever seen, tremendously fit. He had the best ippon seoinage, which shoulder throw I'd ever seen in my life. So fast, you couldn't believe it. He's turned bang and you're thrown.
Dislocated.
So he goes to Morocco or Tunisia, I can't remember which, and his family comes over because he's going to win everything. And he's beaten in the very first fight, and he was so stressed. So he had a trauma based around this, emotional trauma. I worked with him. We erased the original trauma. I put in some, power suggestions. Then I watched him on my iPad while I was cooking a Thai curry and saw him use his killer freaking ippon seoinage. You can fix the past. If you've had a bad game or a bad problem, you can rewrite it with hypnosis and then install the resources you need to do a spectacular job. That's
now,
great.
We need to make sure we stay on track with a few other examples that...
Yes.
We need to stay on track with examples that pertain to not being formal hypnosis.
All right.
So let's see if we can do that.
I'll go one for you right here. Oh, dang!
I'm going to be relentless.
We're going to have to.
Fun.
We got to bring in the punch in the guts, because if that doesn't work, then we'll do punch in the kidneys. And that, believe me, and then finally bullet to the penis. Okay, that's your third interruption.
Here's what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about flow states, naturally occurring traits. So you just went to Vikingur Olafsson concert. Talk about that, and how does trance relate to performing naturally?
Incredible. You know I'm a synesthete. I see music, and my senses get crossed. They have my entire life. Vikingur Olafsson, I think he's probably the greatest pianist in the world. The Icelandic Glenn Gould, he's only 41. But we saw him, 5th row center at Kerner Hall, which is an acoustically perfect hall. And I sat there for watching him for 80 minutes play the Goldberg variations from memory. And the trance he was in was unbelievable. Like, remember, they showed videos to Erickson of these Thai dancers and said, which one's in a trance? The one on the left is in the trance. There's an economy of motion. He went through this whole thing. This guy played piano in trance. In fact, he's coming back in 1 year, and we've already got our tickets. He's almost sold out for a year away. He played these sweeping pieces with 0 mistakes in 80 minutes. And I looked at him, and he flowed with the freaking music. His whole body was involved. He would pause and let a note just completely fade. It was the most powerful automatic trance I think I've ever seen, but it enabled him to maintain the zone for 80 freaking minutes nonstop. So that must be anchored when he plays the particular piece that he's mastered. And God, did he ever master it. It's hard for me as the world's foremost Glenn Gould fanatic to say that, but he must go automatically into that flow state.
I was thinking about how music is trance-inducing on its own, too. And thinking back to sports, because we just mentioned this, what about, like, walk-on music? I'll tell you one. I remember I used to swim in the summer only competitively, because it wasn't like on an official swim team. But in the summertime, I lived right down the street from a place called West Park Pool in Dollard-des-Ormeaux, suburb of Montreal. And they had the competitive swim team in the summer, and I was on the A team because I was one of the better swimmers. And anyway, we had this like psych out, walk on, the whole team. And I remember the dry ice machine and everyone walking on and opening the fence. And I remember that the coach couldn't get the lock open to open the fence because the dry ice was getting in the way. And we had the walk on music, though, was the Eye of the Tiger.
Of course.
And it was just and I got to tell you, this psych out music, in this case, it was walk on power for us, but also psych out for the other teams. This was so powerful. That song still in my mind. Like, if you play Eye of the Tiger, which of course also from Rocky and things like that, right? That is just such an anchored
I interrupted
song.
you, but that's a legitimate one. So I'm sort of adding to what you're saying instead of just interrupting. Now, what I find interesting about that is, you remember when I played the Canadian National Exhibition for about 6 years, I'd do 18 or 19 days in a row.
Yeah.
And my I had music we'd play beforehand, all music I like,
AC/DC
and stuff, but AC/DC, it would be Thunderstruck. Before I went on stage, I'd just hear Angus starting, and I'd start getting in the zone and stretching and everything, and people would be watching, and they hit the stage running. That music became perfectly anchored for me. And one funny time, my mother-in-law, who has been dead for many years, it's like 84, 85, I was taking her to Metro Caravan, one of these different pavilions of all the food and cultural stuff. And we were trying to get to the London Pavilion, which is west on the Gardner Expressway. And we were running late. They weren't going to admit anyone past a certain time. And she said, we're not going to make it. I said,
yes, we will.
I was driving my Z28 then, my Zapper. And I just pushed a cassette in and the Bond thing. Ba-da-dum, ba-da, and I just freaking floored it. And my mother-in-law said, smiling, you're such a freaking idiot. And it worked. I got us there on time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's talk about medicine. We know James Esdale in the late 1800s in Calcutta, India, did remarkable operations. We won't talk about them because how many freaking times can you talk about 80-pound testicular tumors and all the, the hilarious lines that go with that? And notice I'm not saying it by not saying it. I'm just not even talking about it.
We're not going to talk about the 80-pound.
He took mortality, from post-operative mortality down from like 50% to like 5%. People weren't even getting infections. And this is hypnotic. But in modern times, Gary Coles, good friend of ours, an absolute expert at dealing with cancer patients with hypnosis.
And their
also
families.
Their families who are going to be bereaved or might be bereaved. And that's phenomenal stuff. Gary worked with pain management, and you can make chemotherapy go easier without the nausea.
That brings up a really good point that hypnosis fits really well with other modalities. So if somebody is undergoing chemotherapy treatment, for example, or radiotherapy or post-surgical recovery, whatever, throw hypnosis at the healing, at the not having the side effects, the nausea that other people would experience, but not you because you're dealing with this through hypnosis, et cetera, et cetera.
That's very good. And also, family support for their stress. I said to Gary, how do you know what to do? And he said, ask the patient what they want. And I just brilliant. He, very cool guy. I hope we see him in Las Vegas again. I don't know if he's coming over, but you can get fewer radiation side effects just by working with the body and the mind, and hypnosis is a great way in. And of course, if you lose someone, hypnosis is a terrific way of dealing with grief, helping the person process it. So there's an open door there for a lot of things. I was thinking of this, even supporting medications with hypnosis.
100%.
So even medications have a placebo effect. It's not just things that are inert.
So amplify the good ones.
Amplify the good ones.
Well, the placebo meaning good. Obviously, they're not nocebo, which is bad.
Very bad.
Very true. Now, I hate to be the one that does this, but I think we're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon because we have in 14 minutes, we're going live on Zoom with our community.
Oh, peckers of hell. So I very seldom say that. My wife was at the Cairo the other day, and she actually yelled peckers of hell because she was in such pain. It helps. Now, Chris, give us the empowering question.
All right.
We're just going to start moving on.
Here's the empowering question. So now that I know there's a vast opportunity to use hypnosis both to help others and improve my own life, my own lot in life, what will I do to learn how to use it? And how amazed will I be when it actually works beyond anything that I expect?
Brilliant.
And now, as you move into the Meta 5, I'm just going to make sure I mention again, you want to check out the Brain Software Syndicate. If you want to use this stuff on yourself, do yourself a favor and go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/BSS.
Well, the Meta 5, one better than a metaphor. I've mentioned many times, and I think I'm going to call him within the next week or two. My awesome friend, Dr. Arthur Perlini, professor of psychology, dean at Algoma University, really nice guy, and super good at everything he does, brilliant. And he did legendary research you can find in the Oxford Guide to Hypnosis and so on with Nick Spanos in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And Arthur and I were in a car once. I can't remember where we're going. We're in Toronto, and we're talking about stuff, and I started talking about embedded commands. And he's listening to me. Now, he realized he's an expert in hypnosis, but at that point, at least, he had not studied Erickson ever. And which to me is like, de rigueur, you must know Erickson. Sorry, just slipping into French because I can.
It's like studying bodybuilding and not ever hearing of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're in the car, and I said, embedded commands. And he sort of went quiet. And then he said to me, Mandel, if what you're saying is correct, then hypnosis is happening all the time everywhere. And I said, that's right.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to episode 276 of the Brain Software Podcast. I'm Chris Thompson. This is your wizard, Mike Mandel, happens to be my best friend. And we teach hypnosis. We teach personal development, all kinds of awesome stuff. So head on over to MikeMandelHypnosis.com and check out what we got for you. And if you want the audio track I mentioned earlier, I'll just repeat the URL for you. It's free. It's also included in the Brain Software Syndicate, where you get a whole lot more. I already gave you the URL for that. So for the castle, Journey to the Castle, just go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/castle. There you go. See you in the next episode.
Mandel. See you in the next one. Thanks once again.
And good night.